Hey, this is Zach again with Ready to Fund Home Loans. Today's tip, we're going to be talking about how a home seller will benefit by using a preferred lender. So whether you are getting ready to list your home with an agent, or you are going to sell your home by owner, so you're going to do a FSBO transaction, there's some key things that you need to know about having a preferred lender that's really going to help you take the power back in the transaction and be proactive to control the process. So let me tell you a story. So I had a client one time, they're going to sell their home by owner, and this was a previous mortgage client, and she called me one day and she said, "Hey Zach, can you call the buyer who's supposed to be buying our home?" I go, "Okay, yeah, sure." She goes, I go, "When were you supposed to close?" And she goes, "5 days ago." And I go, "Uh-oh, what happened?" She goes, "Well, he went to his local bank. He has a friend that works at a bank, and he has a pre-approval letter, and they, sent us the pre-approval letter. We went under contract, and basically he's saying he can't close for whatever reason." So I said, "Okay, yeah, I'll call him, see what we can do." So I called him up, and it was an income issue. So basically he had recently gone, he was a W-2 wage earner. He was pre-approved based on a previous year's transaction, but then he started a new business. He had a huge write-off the first year. And I asked him, I said, "Well, didn't you disclose this to the lender?" And he goes, "Yeah, I disclosed it. He just pre-approved me." And I said, "Well, unfortunately, you're going to be a ways out. You're going to be a year at the quickest, possibly a year, most likely 2 years from where, until you can establish the self-employed history that you need to qualify to buy a home." So anyway, so they went, fell out of contract. My client was very generous and gave him his earnest money back. They didn't keep anything like that. So explained, I said, "Hey, look, we have a preferred lender programs designed to help you make sure that any buyer that comes to you is ready, willing, and able to buy your home." Okay. Number two, it's going to help you save some money, and I'll get on that in a minute. And number three, it's going to help you close on time. And she said, "Okay, well, I have two people looking to buy the home, and I'll tell them that they have to go through you." So basically, she accepted an offer from someone. She didn't have them go through us to get pre-approved because she was convinced, they had a good story for her. So again, 2 weeks later goes by and she calls me. She says, "Hey, the buyer's having trouble again." And I said, "Okay, well, I'll talk to him." So I called him up, and the buyer was kind of wishy-washy. They were like, "Well, if the world aligns and, everything's perfect, then we'll go ahead and buy this house. But if it doesn't, then we're not going to." So I went back and told my seller that, my client. So they had a conversation, decided to part ways. So this was the third time she listed her home, again by owner, and this time she was more adamant. And so she wrote into the contract and said, "You have to get cross-qualified by our preferred lender." So the next time she came back and she had two offers again, and she said, "Okay, you have to go through Ready to Fund Home Loans and get cross-qualified." So the bottom line was, one buyer came, even though they had been pre-approved by another lender, they were very shaky at best. The second buyer was rock solid. He was very interested in buying the home. He had just moved into the area, and he was adamant about closing before the school season started. So I reported back and said, "Hey, here's the situation with these two buyers." And she said, "Okay, we'll accept the offer from the second buyer." And long story short, we closed in 2 weeks and everybody's happy. So that's the power of having a preferred lender on board. So again, number one, ready, willing, and able buyer. Okay, they might be willing, they might be able, they might not be ready. Okay, you want to make sure that they're hitting on all three of those points. Okay, so the second way having a preferred lender helps you is that your buyer, most buyers don't shop around. So 72% of buyers go with whoever they applied with without shopping around. Don't allow their failure cost you money. And what I mean by that is, let's say they're getting their loan through a high-cost lender. If that high-cost lender says, "Okay, so the rate you want is going to cost you $6,000, they're going to come to you and say, "Hey, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, why don't you pay my closing costs for me?" And you will be happy that you're under contract. A lot of times you'll say yes, and you'll just leave money on the table. So what we will do for them while we're cross-qualifying them is we will provide a quote for them. So as a mortgage broker, we're going to scour the market. We're going to go to our dozens of lenders that we work with, and we're going to provide a quote. So a lot of times we can give the rate that they want for zero closing costs. It's going to help them save money and help you save money as well. Number three, we have a close on time guarantee. So for a seller, if we don't close a loan on time for any reason, we're going to pay you $1,000. because we know it's a hassle. And so we have an incentive to make sure everything stays on track to close on time. Once again, this is Zach with Ready to Fund Home Loans. Give us a call today. We'll explain our preferred lender program. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps you save some money.